Greetings, happy gamers, and welcome to my guide on how to convert your Final Fantasy XIV character into a VTuber avatar. First and foremost, I'd like everybody to know that I am not an expert at this. I am a novice at best. Over the last 2 weeks, I've learned, and in the bottom corner here is what you see as the result. Below, there is a link to a website that has a lot of the information that I'll be referencing during this video. First, it'll have the programs that you'll need to download and have installed. It'll have links to the plugins that you'll need to have downloaded that we will show you how to add later. And it has links to videos and other information that I used to make all of this. Big shout out to them. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, let's open up Tex Tools. It's my character creator in the background. First thing in Tex Tools, we need to go and customize. If you want to change these directories, you can, but I just like to leave them at default. If you're not any of these other races, just go ahead and leave it at Midlander. Now there's two ways you can handle this. You can either go ahead and just randomly select the colors that you think look best for your character, or if you want to be precise, you can open up the character creator here. Go into things like skin color or hairstyle, wherever you want to pull your color from. And let's do a quick capture by hitting the Windows, Shift, and S as in Sam keys at the same time. This pulls up a quick snip tool. Just draw a box around here. Let's open up Paint. You can also use Photoshop, Paint.net, etc. Select the color picker tool, go to your current. Make sure it showed up there. Click Edit Colors. And this will give you your RGB values that you can go over here to Tex Tools and plug them in here. I'm just going to leave everything as is because that seems to give me the best result. Once you've selected all that, go ahead and close out. Go ahead and get rid of Paint here. We don't care about Paint anymore, even though it is the best. It's been with us for many, many years. And we're going to start by selecting our character and then going to face and then picking your correct race here. Choose the Models tab. And there you have it. This is the base model. Select the correct number of face that you are. Down here in Apply Deformation Shapes, you will need to select certain values to get different eyebrows, cheeks, eye shape, mouth, nose, iris, etc. Let's try this one. Let's try this one. Okay, we'll stick with that. Once you are done, click Add to FMV down here. And I'll pull up the full model viewer, and that is the first step. Go ahead and leave this as Rava instead of Vina, even though that's what my race is. I seem to have trouble getting it to export correctly when I select Vina. Next, we'll move on to body. This is a pretty simple little thing. Click on that. Everything's set. Just click Add to FMV. And now we're going to move on to hair. Choose the correct number here that corresponds to your hairstyle. This one's number 2, it's mine. Add to FMV. Tail, if your race has a tail, you can throw it in here. Or if you're a Viera, you can move on to ears. Next, you got to determine if you have floppity boppities or not so floppity boppities. Add to FMV, and there we go. We're done with the head. Now we're going to move on to gear. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can go through all the selection here and pick out what you want. If you use mods, you can also, select those and have those body pieces put into place. Most of my gear is from the Eden Morn stuff. I could spell it right. We're going to go to Gown of Casting. Make sure you select the correct type. The only female model is Lalafell and Pure, so that works for Viera. Make sure that's correct and click Add to FMV. Next, we'll move on to Legs. Casting. Make sure that that's female as well. Add to FMV. Boots. There's only these options. Let's go ahead and add to FMV. And then for the hands, I use the Signifier's fingerless gloves. I think look really cool. I'm going to make sure that that is selected for female. And we're going to add to FMV. You'll note that the parts are covered in that. We'll fix this a little bit later whenever we're in Blender. That concludes everything we need to make our character export. Go ahead here and click Export. Give it a name. I'll just give it my character's name. We're going to do Export. Export successful. Congratulations, you now have an FBX file. Now we're going to go ahead and open up Blender. We're going to get started in there. Okay, just first things first, click off this. I always just highlight all this stuff and get rid of it. It's not needed for what we need to do. Next, we need to add the CATS plugin, C-A-T-S. Go to Preferences, go to Add-ins, click Install, locate your plugin location, which I believe mine is here under Tex Tools. Yep. Just double click it and it'll install. Make sure whenever it gets done loading, it'll be here and checked. And that's how you install the CATS plugin. It'll show up over here. There's a little arrow here that you can click to expand this little menu out. And right here, go ahead and just minimize credits and supporters. One other thing I like to do is go down here to System and increase your undo steps. Note this uses RAM. The more higher the number, the more RAM you use. I have mine set at 200 and trust me, it's saved my bacon a few times. Go ahead and close that out. And now we're going to go ahead and import our model. Go to Import, FBX. Go to where we extracted it to, which in my case is Tex Tools, saved, full model, and right here. Go ahead and open this up. Import FBX, or double click it. And there's our character. I'm using my scroll wheel to scroll in, holding down the scroll wheel button to rotate. Click and hold down the little hand here to move around, scroll wheel to scroll in. You can also even things out, rotate around, on top of, etc. with these little quick buttons here. It's pretty handy. Next, we need to do a little bit of cleanup. There's some things on my model here that don't need to be here. Some of you may have these things and need them, like you have a facial mole here or freckle or whatever it is, birthmark. Sometimes it's on the left, sometimes it's on the right. Just click it, make sure it's highlighted, and delete. This is where the tattoos sit. Go ahead and get rid of them since I don't have tattoos. Whoops. I'm rotating down. Since I don't have that little jewel in the middle of my forehead, I'm going to select and get rid of it as well. Next, remember I was commenting earlier on the gloves not being visible because of the body piece. We need to clean that up. Now this is a kind of a trial and error thing. You'll probably have to go through this several times and view it later in Unity to see what actually shows up correctly or not. I've done this so many times though that I think I've just about got it figured out. So that's the piece we need actually. This we don't need. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Oh, see, that was actually part of the arm. Control Z to undo. Same thing. That's part of the arm. We need to keep that. I think I've got rid of that. And then that thing on top there. That should just about do it. One other thing, this is a quick tutorial on how to do some modifications here, but these little flaps that stick out from the body, I don't really care for them, so I'm going to make them fold in. Zoom around to the back of the model here. Select this. We're going to go over here and click Edit Mode. And our little wireframes appear. Click off of here, select that little knobble right there on the end, click the Move tool, and we're going to drag this in. Note there's a front and a back to this, so you'll have to do it twice. And then just bring it in here and make it kind of disappear. Let's do the same for the other side. Back and front. There, now it's gone and it won't show up in our front view of the model. All right, go ahead and switch this thing back over to object mode. And there we have it. Now we're going to move on to the next phase, which is usually the most time consuming. I'm going to keep a simplified version of this, just enough to get you started. First things we need to do is set up the animations for blinking, or they're called shape keys. Let's go ahead and expand this out. Go ahead and highlight all these groups and just get rid of them because they're not needed. Open this dude up. These are all the bone pieces, these little things here sticking out. We're going to start posing those. With the eyes, we're going to do a quick search here for, let me pull up my notes. The word mob, which I think has something to do with the Japanese word for eyelid. Here's all our important stuff. Go ahead and click on one of these bones. Now in the web page that I provided you below, I've posted copies of all the numbers I'm going to be using, so you can use that as reference, or you can just follow along with this video. Once you've seen it a few times, you can just take off and have at it. First things first, let's go ahead and do blink right. We're going to make sure our bone is selected. Click the little bone properties window here, select pose mode. Or you can click over here, start and stop pose mode in the Tex tool. First, I'm going to show you the longer way to do it, and then I'm going to show you the shorter, faster way to do it. Blink right, we need to set UMAB R to rotation Z of 0.27. Note for each of your character, that's not rotation. Each character will have different values for this because this is a size-based thing. So if you have a Lalafell versus a Rogadin, you're going to move the eyelid further each time for the different sizes. You also may not want to close your eyes all the way, or you may want to make sure they're fully closed like mine. Let's see, and this right here is a value of negative 0.18. There you go. As you can see, the eye is closed now compared to the other one. And let's quickly save this as a shape key. First things first, go ahead and switch over to object mode, select the full model. Oh, one thing we need to do real fast. I forgot to do this. Just go ahead and combine all this stuff. It's not in the right view for that. Oh yes, I need to close this out. Go ahead and select here and all this. Bring your mouse over here, Control and J as in John, and we combine all these parts into one. Oh, did I not select everything? Control Z to undo. Yeah, I did not select them all. Let's try this again. Click the bottom, Shift, click top, Control J. There we go. That'll make it easier when we're doing transitions. Okay, so we have our blinking eye. We're in object mode. We're going to go ahead and click over here to this little wrench shape called Modifier Properties. Click this little down arrow right here, and we're going to save the shape key. Then we're going to move over to Object Data Properties, little triangle thing. And then here's our shape keys. Scroll to the bottom. This right here is our newly created one. Double click to rename. We're going to call this Blink Right. Hit enter, and we are done. Now let's go back up here. We're going to go back into looking for the map stuff. Now let's do a full-on blink. Click the bone, switch to pose mode, and now I'm going to show you the easy way of creating shape keys, or easier way. Let's do left. Dmab L is -0.18. Umab L is 0.27. And there we have a full blink. Up here on cats, we can just go apply as, or pose to shape key. Give it a name, blink. And we're done. It'll show up in that one area. Go ahead and show you real fast. Let me switch over to object mode, select the model, go here, and there's blink. Go ahead and go back here. We're going to go back to pose mode. Now we're going to do just blinking left. Go ahead and select the bone. Get rid of these values. You know, negative numbers here always annoy me, so I like overriding them with zeros. Overwrite with 0, overwrite with 0, overwrite with 0. And there we go. Our eye is back open. Make sure that eye is open. Wait, yeah, that's left. I don't want to do left yet. Right. Right is fully open. Right is fully open. All right. Let's go ahead and pose the shape key. This is blink left. And done. Now we have our 3 blinks. Let's go ahead and reset all this back to 0. Zero, zero, zero. Now we're back to our default shape. Now we get to move on to the fun part, and that is creating shapes for each of the vowel sounds. There's actually a couple of ways you can do this. If you're doing a VR chat character, you can make just the ah, o, and ch sounds. And you can use cats here with those sounds plugged in here to create visms, vismes. I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry. And that fills in all of the sounds that the human mouth can make in between. We're using VSeeFace, which likes it better if you have the vowels set up, because it fills in the shapes between itself as well. Alright, so we're going to go over here and we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to select the word lip. This gives us all the values we'll end up needing for manipulating the mouth here. First things first, we're going to do ah. Get rid of those negative zeros that are really annoying. The J ago is basically the bottom jaw. We're going to set the rotation of 0.02 on the z-axis. I'm sorry, 0.07. We're doing ah. You notice the mouth open up there. F lip R. Y, location, 0.001. L, location Y, 0.001. And F, ulip A, rotation on it, we're doing a negative 0.01 on the Z axis. And right there is we're going to head and save as, or pose to shape key. Just call this Now we're going to do E. Rotation for that is 0.02. F, D-lip A. Get rid of these. Location, X, negative 0.002. Y, 0.004. F, lip L. X, negative 0.002. Y, negative 0.002. And Z, 0.006. Then we're going to kind of mirror that over here. Get rid of that. Location X, negative 0.002. Y, negative 0.002. Actually, that should be a positive 002, shouldn't it? Nope. Yeah, that's right. And then Z is a negative 0.006. There we go. Get rid of that extra weird thing. That's that. And then ulip A. We don't have any Z rotation. Location X, negative 0.02. Oops, an extra 0 here. My notes are in the way. Wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong thing. We're doing E, right? Yes, we are. Rotation is negative 0.007. Yep, that looks about right. And this is E. Pose of shape K, E, Jago, 0.03, F, D lip A, X, 0.005, nothing for Y, lip L, X, negative 0.003, Y, 0.004, .01. Then we're going to mirror that over here. Negative 0.003. Negative 0.004. Oops. And negative 0.01. Okay, just a quick explanation. I forgot to do this. These are on the outside of the lips right here. D lip is of course down here. U lip is up here. Ago is down here. So if you're doing this freehand or whatever, that's where you'll need to start adjusting. And now U lip A, X -0.002, Y -0.002, and Z axis nothing. There we go. Go ahead and pose the shape key, and this is I. Now we need to do O. Go is 0.05. D-lip A, 0.001. Oops, actually that's 0.001. There we go. Rotation 0.03. F-lip L 0.0023, 0.03, and Z -0.006. Zero. 0.03, 0.006. And then U-lip A, Y is 0.01, zero here, and then Z rotation -0.02. O is the shape key, and this is O. Now, go ahead and do the U. J-Ago is 0.015. F-lip L, there's nothing for this. Make sure you reset these to 0 whenever they're not mentioned. Z is -0.002. This is 0. -0.02. And U-lip A, value of 0, here and here. So, pose the shape key, U. Now, a good resource for figuring out how these should look is provided on the web page, or you can get your lovely wife to make funny faces at you. We did both, and we got an end result that was pretty comical. We're going to go ahead and do the CH sound for people who want to use that. J-Ago is 0. D-lip A. Y is 0.005. Lip L is 0.005. Wait, that's a 0. 0.005. -0.005. And D-lip A is location Y. -0.005. And we're going to head and do pose shape here, and this is CH. So if you wanted to do that, you just plug in O and oops, did we not forget the, no, there it is. There is TH, and then you just hit this create Vizims, and you'll be done with that part. Alright, so that concludes everything except for the eyebrows. Eyebrows in the Final Fantasy character model are a bit dull. The only bone is way behind the head, and it only really affects the inside movement of the eyebrows here. I will create a video for later that will have probably a tutorial how to improve that, and because eyebrow movement is pretty important for communication. Before moving on, let's go ahead and reset everything to 0 here. Otherwise, our character will have their mouth hanging open the whole time. Now for browse, looking at my notes, browse up. We're going to head and look for the word MIKEN, which is an abbreviation for eyebrows, if I remember correctly. 0, 0, 0. And location Y, -0.001. Oops. -0.01. There. And that raises our eyebrows up just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and reset the position of our eyebrows, or a new position of our eyebrows here in a little bit, because I prefer them looking that way. So we're going to call this browse up. Now we're going to do browse down, which is the Y of 0.007. And you may want to modify this yourself. If you really want it to be expressive, you might increase these values significantly. Browse down. Make sure it's lowercase. Don't know why I think that's important. And then we're going to reset this back to our new normal, which is 0.002. And done. That concludes our tutorial on the shape keys. Now we're going to move on to some other steps. Right now I'm going to do a quick export of the FBX. This is kind of setting up a bookmark of sorts. Call it B for Blender version 1. Export the FBX. You can do this at multiple points along the way. If you're afraid of messing up and don't have to repeat steps, you can just file and revert. But now the next button we're about to push is a very, very important button for making everything work, and one of the best things about the CATS program. So we're going to click this fix model. It renames things, does a lot of work, and makes it work a lot better whenever we get this thing into Unity. Click the fix model button. And oh no! Our character has fallen and cannot get up. Well, we'll see what we can do about that. Click on the object properties here. Rotation, make sure that's set at 90 degrees. Make sure your armature comes with. Otherwise, you'll have some really funky results in the next window and you'll have to redo it. There we go. Now we're ready to export our model. This exports it as a FBX. Just click continue to export. Go to your directory that you want to save this in, and we'll call this V2. Export FBX. And now we're ready to move on to Unity. Give this a few moments to load. We're going to head and create a new project. Call this number 3 here. This is actually my 9th run through of doing this from start to finish. One of the things I'd like to note is that each and every single time you do this, you will get a new result in some form or another. Something you'll have to compensate for, or it may cause you to have to just give up and start over from the very beginning. It's a learning process, and the more you keep things uniform, the better, but that won't help because eventually you'll run into something that you'll never have seen before. Like last time I ran through this, I had files literally disappearing whenever I was doing imports. All right. go ahead and leave these here. They don't hurt anything. First things first is we're going to import our shaders and packages here, the plugins for Unity. One of the important things to note that the shaders must come before the Unity VRM file. So we'll go ahead and do shaders first. Just click, drag, and drop. You can also do an import command. I just think it's a little bit easier to do it this way. It's a little bit more visual. From my IT experience, I like doing things from Explorer windows. And you can see here it's importing the objects. Done. You see this pop up, just click accept all. And you're welcome. Go ahead and close that out. Let's move on to the VRM here. Go ahead and import. There we go. Go ahead and let's import the VR Chat SDK version 3 avatar. I have a link in there. You'll have to sign up for an account and to be able to download the SDK. But if you want to also do VR chat stuff, you'll need this in there. I think it has some useful stuff built into it, so I always include it even if I don't officially use anything built from it. And then finally, the VSF SDK. That's the VSeeFace thing. Okay, you'll notice you have some new stuff added up here. I'll show you all that is here in just a moment. All right, we are done importing. Our next step is a little bit of housekeeping, sanity keeping, etc. Go ahead and go into saved here. Go into your full model and where you saved your character. You'll notice you have your FBXs in here. But we also need to focus on doing a little bit of cleanup on all of these assets. We're going to create folders for each of them. First thing is gloves. All these with the GLV in it are assets that belong to the gloves. Boots. I think SHO means shoes. Legs. DWN, that's for the legs. Down, I guess. Because the other one is chest piece. And that's the top. Next, this right here is the skin, or you can call it the body if you don't want to. But I prefer skin now because that's just a little bit less confusing. This right here, I believe, is the ears. Let's see. Nope, I was wrong. This is eyebrows and tattoos. If you have a tattoo, this is where it'll be coming from. Slap that in there. This is your face skin. Your iris, or you can just call it eye. Your hair accessory. Not all will have this. And of course, I believe there'll be a tail in here somewhere. If you have a tail, it'll be named something different. I'm sure you can figure out what it is. I just don't have that exported. Hair. And then this one right here is, here's the ears. And then this right here, as you can see, looks kind of suspicious, but if you have a facial scar, this is the skin for it. We don't need any of that, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. Now you can see, make sure, for my sanity, I'm running through and checking sure, make sure all these files are actually in here. Please excuse me. All right, we are done. Now we're going to drag these one at a time and put them in here. You can do multiple at a time. However, I have discovered that shenanigans happen whenever you do multiple. So it is best practice to do one at a time. And there we have it. Now we're going to import the latest version of our FBX file. You get this pop-up, don't worry about it, just click Fix Now. Now you can click and drag and drop your character out here, or you can drop it over here. Just make sure that whatever your end result, that your position and rotation are all set to 0. You can move your character around. The movement's a little bit different than Blender. You can't get really close. The in and out is very hinky. If you need to get up close and look at your screen, just click on your character or wherever you'd like to go and just hit the F button for focus. Well, you see our character looks kind of weird. We're going to fix that. Let's go ahead and start here at boots. Now here's all the assets that go along with the boots. We're going to create by right-clicking in the window down there, going up to create and going to material. Call this material something akin to what's in the folder. Change your shader to specular setup and cut out for these. I will give some more information about this here in a little bit. Check this little checkbox here, and then we're going to fill these little boxes over here with these other boxes. You click on the files, you'll notice each of them have a little ending here. D is for dynamic, E is for immersion or emission, normal map, occlusion, and specular. But you can just follow along here. This one goes into albedo. This one goes into color. This one goes into normal map. This one goes into occlusion. That actually doesn't do anything as far as I can tell, but I put it there anyway just in case there was that little hint of something. Then we're going to drop specular into specular. Just make sure that the order is correct on your screen. I haven't had it not ordered correctly on mine yet, so I can just follow this. Once you have all of those things in there, we're going to take the boots and drag and drop it on top of where we're going to use this at. Next, we're going to adjust the smoothness. I, by default, put this at 0.05 for most body parts, but you can adjust 0.5, not 0.05. You can adjust it to however you like. Some post, see how it looks inside of the VSeeFace, and you might want to adjust it later on. Next is a little step that I like to do that'll save time later on if you have to run through this multiple times. We're going to export this package. Just click export, throw it into the boots folder, call it boots. This way, if in the future you have to completely redo this from the get-go, you can just import this package and it creates the folder, all these items for you. When this window pops up, you can just close it out. And now we're going to move on and do all of the others, following a similar pattern. Although the shaders will be different for most of them, I should say. Create new material, chest piece. We're going to do standard specular, cutout, checkbox, albedo, color, normal map, occlusion, and specular. Drop this to 0.5, drag, drop. Ta-da! Export. Export. This goes to the previous directory. You'll have to back out, go into the new one. Or you can just throw all this into the root folder if you wanted to as well. That actually makes sense, but I like a little bit of organization. Close out. Now we're going to move on to ears. This one we're going to have a little bit of change up. We're going to do specular, but we're going to do fade instead. I'll show you the difference of why I'm doing that here in just a moment. Color. Excuse me. Normal map. Specular. There we go. Now we're going to drag and drop our ears up here. Now, see if we do cutout, it doesn't look right. Opaque doesn't look right either. Transparent kind of looks right, but it's a little bit more see-through. So let's just choose fade and we'll leave it as is. Go ahead and export this package. Export, change your directory, ears, save, close. Once you've done this about 500 times like I have, it'll become a little bit faster, a little bit more second nature. Create new material, eyebrows. We're going to do specular standard, and we're going to do fade on it as well. I remember I just didn't do something on the previous one. Ooh, I always forget that checkbox one time or another. Normal map. Occlusion, I have no idea. Specular. And we're going to carefully drop our eyebrows into place. Oh, she's starting to look normal. Look out. I'm going to go ahead and pop back over the ears. We're going to drop this down to 0.5. Actually, I'm sorry. It may actually be lower than 0.5 is what my preference is. I think it's 0.25. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and re-export this package because I want it to be already set up and I don't have to tweak it. And we've already done our eyebrows. We're going to export this package as well. Eyebrows. I went ahead and left it fully up because we're using fade on that anyways. And there's no glossiness to it. Create material. Base. This one's going to be our first. It's going to be a little bit different, but we always start out the same because it's easier to copy all these things over and put them in the right places. Occlusion, normal map. Sorry, albedo, normal map, specular. Okay, the reason why we don't want to leave this is because if you export this into VSeeFace, it'll look absolutely awful. Trust me, you don't want to see this. We're going to go ahead and go to this VRM. We're going to choose Mtune. That is a standard VRTuber slash VChat shader. And you can see the end result down here in the corner. Go ahead and export. You'll notice it includes the shader whenever you do the export too. My face. Next, gloves. And this one is specular cutout. Checkbox. Oops, I didn't rename. And there, and there. 0.5. Drag, drop. And look, there we go. Looks like we did the work right on deleting all the extra stuff there, so we don't have anything sitting on top of it from the body piece. Oops, I forgot to do our export. Great. Material. Hair. All important hair. Start out with standard specular. We're going to do, I think we'll end up doing fade on this one if I remember right, but we'll see here in just a second. Albedo. Oops. Checkbox. Color. Normal map. Occupier and specular. Let's drag and drop our hair. Yep, we're going to go ahead and leave this at cutout. Because if you do the others, you can see it doesn't quite look right. Transparent almost does, but not really. So let's leave this at cutout. We're going to drop our smoothness further down. 0.3. Now if you like shiny hair, you can go ahead and leave that up. But this is something that's a personal preference that you yourself can play with. Export. Hair. Hair. And close. Hair accessory. New material. Standard specular. Cutout. Checkbox. Brr. Nerp. Zoop. Zop. Za. And try. Actually, it's probably better if you zoom in real close so you can get a good view of this. Make sure you're actually dropping it in the right place. And there. Makes that look a little bit better. Export package. Export. We're almost there. Moving on to the iris. Great material. Standard specular. Cutout. Checkbox. Albedo. Color. Normal map. Occlusion. Specular. See, it's kind of reflective. Just drop that to 0.5 as well. Of course, you may want it to be higher or lower. Export. Go to the right directory. Legs. I'd like to shout out to my legs for giving me something to stand on. Color. Normal map. There we go. Again with the 0.5s. Drag and drop. Oh my gosh, looky there. Our character looks somewhat like our character. Note that this is not the final appearance. It will look a little bit different once you get this exported into another format. Oh, and the last thing is skin. Kind of hard to tell there, but we're going to do the material, skin. This one, we'll go ahead and start out like the others, because it just makes it easier later. Or for actually, oops, I put that in the wrong damn place. There we go. Normal map. That's specular, and then that's bullshit. And then we're going to change this to the VRM M tune. Drop it there. Drop it there. And drop it there, or anywhere else you have little bits of skin showing that's not the face. And that concludes that. The last export. Put the shader in there. You know, I forgot to do the leg export. We'll fix that in a second. Export package. Export. Legs. And there we go. Now, really all the heavy lifting is done. Now we're going to go over and select our character here. And we're going to click here on this little inspector and click select. And then we're going to run through a few things here. On normals, change that from import to calculate. Makes it look a little bit better as far as I understand. Materials, change that to use external legacy. Click apply. Animation, leave it alone. And then rig. This sets up our animation to be able to move inside it and do face tracking, body tracking, etc. Choose humanoid, create from this model, click apply. And then once that's done, go back up here and click configure. You'll have to save your work before you can continue on. And then here we go, you'll see the bone structure here. Make sure that you have no red. If you have red, then you may have forgot to do the fix model, or you may have had another problem with your import export. You'll have to go back into Blender and correct whatever bone is broken. Upper chest, leave blank. Chest, make sure it says chest, etc. Click on your head. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do eye tracking. We're going to go ahead and leave the bones in for this version because this is what I found works, but you could also just use shape keys. Regardless of what you do, you need to make sure you select none for jaw. Apply, and done. Now we're going to go ahead and export our first version of the VRM file. Export VRM. You'll see a bunch of errors here. Usually you'll see an error here about boots and stuff, or you may see it about other body parts and stuff, but you can just ignore it if it's a yellow triangle. Oops, no wonder you'll probably see it here. Make sure you always go here and select the main character before you do your export. Click this Make T-Pose. It sets your body to a rigid form that can be easily manipulated because it knows where all the starting points are. Give it a title. I just give it the character name. Version 8.0. You make that whatever it is, it's just up to you. And then give it your official name here. You can also put in contact references, permissions. Just basically leave all this as default. I also don't bother to ever put in a thumbnail. When I've put in a thumbnail in the past, it errors out and messes up for me sometimes, so I just leave it alone. Click export. We're going to slap this guy here in this version. Call this U for Unity in version 1. And there we go. Now, what you're supposed to do is click this little eyebrow ball here, and it makes your character disappear from the screen where you can continue working without editing it, but it doesn't work for me, so I just go in here and delete. Your character is still here, all your models are still here. You'll have to reapply them, of course, if you bring it in, but that's just to get it out of the way so you don't have confusion on what you're about to do next. Next part, you do need to do this from the Explorer window because it doesn't quite show up right if you do import asset from this window, in the assets window. So drag and drop your VRM in here. You'll also put the VRM file in there and a whole bunch of other folders that have the assets built into them. Click the one here. Drag and drop it in here. Again, make sure that your position rotation is set to 0. Open this up, make sure you're selecting on the top tree here, and then we can go back through and do some more editing. Here's all your metadata. Everything here is basically left alone. Go down here to this GLTF instance script and remove it. remove component, apply prefab. You have to do it twice basically to get rid of it. Now open up your eyes, make sure it's set to your bones here. I think if you're doing it the other way, you won't have anything there. Go over here to blend shapes. Double click on that little box there. And now we're in, we're going to modify our blend shapes. Neutral, let's make sure everything's down to 0. A, open this up, find your A that you created and slide it all the way. If you don't want your mouth to open up quite that far, you can just select a lower value. If you want to make your eyes and stuff move whenever you make these letters, you can do that. Add a little bit of animation to your space. I, U, E, and O. There we go. Blink. We created those from the get-go. Looks like our eyes close not quite all the way, but that looks good enough. Now, one of the things that I didn't do was create emotions. I have not got them set up yet. I will work on that in a future video and get it published, what values I have. But for now, you can just go in and, like for joy, if you want to, you can just... That looks pretty cool. You just do some stuff with the eyes, right? And the eyebrows. That looks scary. Okay, yep. We'll go ahead and skip all the other emotions. Look up, look down, look right. That is for your eyeballs if you're doing another setup, but we are going to ignore them. Blink left. And then blink right. Now for our eyebrows, we need to actually create a blend shape. Name it brows up. Make sure you have it in that case. And then brows down. And we'll click here. Brows up. Brows down. And there we have it. We are done with our blend shapes. Just click back on over here. Now one last thing. Click on secondary. Now we're going to create spring bones. See how my ears are moving around like that? Spring bones allow that. If you don't have that, the ears will remain rigid. We're going to create, open up this root bones. We're going to choose 6. If you want different stiffness values for different sets of bones, you'll have to create or add in another component with a different spring bone script. You can do that as many times as you want, have many bones as you want. For these elements, we're going to choose first the Zerd, which are going to be all the 4 ear bones that are in the Viera. And I'm also going to throw in a couple of pieces of the hair, Palmy FL bone, and the Palmy FR, which those bones are right here and right here, essentially. Make your hair bounce and move a little bit better. You can select more than that. You can, include more hair. I'll have a later video to add in the potential for bouncing of other things. I'm sorry. Yeah, hair. More bouncing of hair. That's what I meant. And that concludes that. Now, we are ready for the final step, and we're going to export our avatar bundle. Go to the right directory. And we're going to slap this guy into our directory here. It says importing, but it's actually exporting. Done. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reset this to default settings and run through a few things to show you how it's done. That right there toggles the transparency background. Settings, general settings, and we're going to hit factory reset. And yes, factory resetting everything, closing out. Let's open back up VSeeFace. And now this is going to give you a little bit of a tutorial for how to use it. Each screen will last at least 3 seconds before you can click the next. This is how to import it into Streamlabs OBS here. The versions are updated, but the mechanics are still the same. This gives you some more information. I won't go over it because you can read it yourself. Do I sound like your professor? All right. So first things first, we need to select our camera. High FPS and high resolution are keys to getting a good read on your face and getting nuances of your movements and such. The higher the resolution, the better. Having light on your face too helps. So have a light source nearby. Don't be doing this in a dark room, otherwise the camera won't be able to pick up as well on you. Select the correct resolution. My camera does 60 FPS at 1080, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. Jump that up to 30 FPS. Choose your default microphone. What this does is whenever it hears speech, it'll make the mouth move based upon what sounds it's hearing, instead of just trying to detect if your mouth is open or not. We're going to head and add our avatar. Locate wherever you save that VFS avatar file. Now this is a quick CYOA. Click on your avatar and then click start. Ta-da! Give it a few seconds and then your camera will kick on and you can start moving around. Hello, nurse. I'm going to hit the Alt button and the scroll wheel down to bring my character back a few steps here so my ears don't go off screen. That's one of the drawbacks, or, well, I wouldn't call it a drawback, just one of the nuances of being a Viera. You have to share a screen with your ears. Always click on this mirror motion because it just makes it look better. Increase your smoothing so your character doesn't quite flop around a lot. Sometimes you may notice your character jittering. Increasing the smoothing will help that out. You can also decrease and increase your movement range. Oh, you can see it jerks around a lot more whenever the movement range is set up higher. I'm going to go ahead and increase it just a little bit. I think that's better. Settings. Lighting settings, we'll go ahead and start with that. You can increase the intensity. You can go to ambient, choose different colors, increase the intensity there. There we go. Need a little bit of light for my character. There we go. Not quite as much. There. Play around with it. Get it however you like. It depends on what you're wearing, how much of that glossiness you left on your character, etc. General settings. You can set up auto blinking. First things first though, you need to go to the global reset position hotkey. I set the number 3. Just make it it's not something that will interfere with your gameplay and that it's easy to click on. What goes on with that is if you move out of range, sometimes your character gets stuck looking over there, even though you're right back in front of the camera. You can just look back, reset your head position, hit 3, and you're turned correctly. Settings, general again, and then there's a bunch of things you can do here. I always turn my gaze strength and sensitivity all the way up. That really helps with the eye movements. Let's see if I actually got the eyes working right. Eyebrows, yep. All right. Of course, you can adjust other sensitivities to your whim. It really depends on how the person looks, your camera resolution, a few other things. You can jump up your resolution here to make your character appear better. I'm not going to mess with that right now because it'll probably break things. You can do expression detection. There's several layers here. But for your emotions, basically, it detects if you're smiling and does the joy, etc. Fake gaze, if you don't have any eye tracking, it'll just follow your head movement. Audio link see a few other things here, but that is basically it. That's enough to at least get you going here. Let me zoom back a little bit on my avatar. Ta-da! And there you have it, folks. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, contact me in Discord. If you play Final Fantasy, you might know how to get a hold of me. And that's it. See y'all later, happy gamers.